Kitco Mining's special coverage of the CIM Convention and Expo is brought to you by CSE, the Canadian Securities Exchange.
Hello, welcome to Kitco Mining. I'm Niels Christensen. We're here still at the CIM Convention and Expo. Joining me now is Anil Mall, Director of Company Services for the Canadian Securities Exchange. Anil, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Niels.
Canadian Securities Exchange, you guys have seen really strong growth through 2022. The first question I have is, what is the health of the resource sector? Are you guys, what kind of growth have you seen in 2023, sorry?
Absolutely. So traditionally, we've performed quite well in challenging markets. As applicant companies, they usually benefit from our low cost of listing and especially the services we provide for our companies. We're always accessible to them. And so in the first quarter of this year, we've listed 30 companies in total. And I'm actually quite proud to say 22 of those 30 companies have been in the mineral resource space. So, that's a great sort of start to the year, but we've also got a steady pipeline of applicants that are working towards listing in the next, let's say, 4 to 6 months. And with respect to financings this year, we've actually done, I shouldn't say this year, but with respect to financings, we've done about 166 million raised year to date on the exchange. A lot of those have been double-digit financings and sub-$1 million financing. So the numbers are great. If market is any indication right now, there's a healthy interest in listing and funding mineral exploration companies.
Well, okay, so let's take a step back a little bit. I think what's really interesting, and this is a theme that I've seen very prevalent this year, is within the resource sector, critical metals versus gold. I'm sort of wondering, from your guys' point of view, where is the money going? Is it going into? It feels like money is going more into critical metals right now.
It's fair to say that money is going more into the critical metal side, and it's mainly because of the investor interest within that specific subsector, I should say. But we have, gold companies that are being funded. Obviously, if you have sound management, a great project, and you're able to meet milestones, I don't think traditionally you will have companies like that in those stages won't have trouble finding financing.
So it's really interesting to see sort of, and you guys sort of seeing the trends in the market. I guess how does it work out for a company that wants to be listed on the CSE, in that you guys do have sort of, you guys have growing and now different tiers on the listings?
Correct. So over the last few years, what's happened is we've attracted companies that are larger and at later stages. And in order to meet the needs of those companies, what we've done is we've modified our listing policies to accommodate issuers of all sizes and at various stages of development. So there's been a recent move to designate some non-venture issuers. And basically what's going to happen is those non-venture issuers will be designated to part as a senior tier, and which will mean they will have more stringent requirements, but under securities law, companies of that size are already meeting those requirements on other exchanges. So like I mentioned, many of those requirements are already applicable to companies of those larger sizes. But at the same time, we do remain committed to the success of our smaller emerging issuers, who've always been the backbone of the CSE, to be honest.
Well, I was going to say, the CSE, you guys were very much known for exploration. Again, Snowline listed with you guys. They're having a fantastic, their discoveries in the Yukon are going really, really well. So I guess, what's the competition like in sort of in the bigger sectors then? You're looking for, the mid-tier producers and sort of the cash generators, I guess.
Correct. So traditionally that's been the case. Now the theory behind us adding the senior tier is so that companies that as they grow don't need to then move over to another exchange to then be able to get those sort of benefits that a larger company might get, like accessing institutional capital, for example.
So what does this senior tier then, what's the impact on the mining companies? Will it open up the space, do you think, a little bit?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, we have been attracting bigger companies, not just greenfield companies, for example. These larger companies, they tend to build on historic work and are leveraging more mature properties. So further to development of these properties, obviously they require a deeper pool of capital to increase those odds of success. Now, the companies typically require institutional capital, and that's beyond traditional retail pool of investors that we've seen seed these projects. And one of the large reasons we introduced the senior tier is that as the companies find success on the exchange, we want to ensure that the institutions have a clear understanding that these companies are meeting requirements similar to those on senior boards similar to senior boards on other exchanges. For example, we currently have 5 mineral exploration companies, and in our CSE 25 index, they're over 200 million market cap each. And now, many of these companies are looking beyond Canada to be able to raise capital, and that's why our team has been doing a lot of work in other parts of the world other than Canada, for example, in the UK, to make sure that, as we socialize the new tier and we talk about it, that the other pools of capital have a clear understanding of what these companies do.
Do you see, it's really interesting, do you see, how much growth do you see outside of Canada?
We see quite a bit of growth outside Canada. There's a lot of interest coming to us from Australia, UK, just for example.
And I guess in the resource sector, or do you see where else do you see growth? Everybody's sort of talking about the tech, and growth in tech.
The tech industry is always sort of has interest from investors because they traditionally understand it. But obviously, what happens is the interest comes from investors in general. So if investors are putting their capital into a specific sector, that's where we'll see the majority of sort of interest from not only institutional, retail, and then companies wanting to list projects within those specific subsectors.
Well then, okay, let's, what are the financial trends that you guys are watching for this year? And I guess specifically for the mining sector as well.
Absolutely. So in the first quarter of this year, we've done about 8 IPOs. They're quite small in nature, to be honest with you, but they follow a trend we see on markets where more projects coming to CSE without the juggling act of, a reverse takeover, etc. I'm actually quite proud to say that the CSE led all Canadian markets in IPOs last year.
Wow.
So that's a fantastic stat for us. Life financings, for example, we've seen about 32 million raised in that specific type of financing, or exemption, I should say, so far in 2023. So that's a great number. And it's not just been in the mining sector. Other sectors are also utilizing the life exemption. And as you can expect, Niels, we've seen capital flows weighted towards battery metals, of course, like you mentioned, and rare earth projects. But our 2 largest listings, mining listings, are in the gold space.
Really?
Correct.
Really? So there still is money. I guess it's more like there's money still going. It's just getting more balanced, it feels like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a fair statement to make, that they are getting balanced. But, obviously with everything going on in the world right now, rare earth minerals, critical minerals, gold, silver, copper, for example, those are all sectors and sort of resources that we're bullish in.
Yeah, well, so do you see a lot of new capital coming in? Like, I guess one of the comments that I hear is that the critical metal industry is definitely attracting a lot younger money. People who want their smart cars, people who want their phones. Sorry, people who want their electric cars and their smartphones, and every new widget. They're realizing that to get this, we're going to need lithium, we're going to need cobalt, we're going to need graphite, we're going to need all of these critical metals.
Correct.
So are you guys seeing new money sources coming in, or is it still?
We do see, when you're looking at retail capital, we definitely see a lot of younger investors coming into the space because this is something that they actually believe in. Not I shouldn't say actually believe in, but they really believe in it.
They understand it.
They understand it, and they're trying to make change in the world, away from the traditional ways of investing. So yeah, definitely, we do see a lot of younger capital. I mean, just look around the conference, you see so many young people, and it's a real boost because it really builds confidence in the sector.
Anil, thank you very much for your comments. This has been a fascinating conversation. I'm really interested to see how the dynamic between gold and critical metals plays out. And I do think that critical metals will eventually, maybe the scales will tip a little bit more in critical metals, just because there is that understanding that, hey, if we want to live our 21st century life,
correct,
this is what we need.
Absolutely, because the way things have been shifting over the last number of years, we definitely see that trend coming true. There's a lot more conferences around the critical metal space as well as we see. So as companies come to market in that sector, I think education is a big thing, which Kitco Mineral Mining provides through your interviews and educating people on what they should be looking out for. And of course, if your viewers are interested in the CSE and what we do, please visit our website. We've got a YouTube channel. You can definitely take a look at that. But it's only 5 months into the year now, I should say. And so if the way the first quarter has gone is any indicator, it's going to be a great year.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thanks once again.
Thank you for watching Kitco Mining. Stay tuned for more coverage from the CIM Convention and Expo. If you like what you see, remember to hit the subscribe button below.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of the CIM Convention and Expo is brought to you by CSE, the Canadian Securities Exchange.